because the chaos has become too profitable to stop. The solution is said to be in plain sight. Yet we seem blinded by the glitter of $8 billion. Good evening, distinguished guests, partners, colleagues, and friends. I am Amiesi Nyameche Thompson. On behalf of CDD Ghana, I welcome you to the 20th Kronti Ne Akwamu Lecture. The theme, Galamsey, a country in search of solutions in plain sight. At this juncture, I would like to call upon the Executive Director of CDD Ghana, Professor H. Kwesi Prempeh, to give us the welcome address. Please put your hands together for him.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, honorable ministers, if any present, members of parliament, excellencies, high commissioners, and members of the diplomatic corps, distinguished speaker for today's lecture, members of the CDD board, friends of CDD, media, ladies and gentlemen. I'm delighted to host you this evening as Executive Director of CDD Ghana to this, the 20th Kronti Ne Akwamu Lecture. This is our flagship public lecture. Two decades ago, the center initiated this lecture as a way of focusing on a critical, topical national issue and to bring some reflection, evidence, research to bear on a problem. This year's is in that same vein, and I'll have occasion to say a few words about that. Since the inaugural lecture in March 2005, the Kronti Ne Akwamu Lecture has featured eminent local and international figures, scholars, practitioners, whose work and impact demonstrate a deep commitment to democracy, good governance, and inclusive development, these being the three pillars of CDD's mission. Over the years, we have been privileged to welcome very distinguished speakers such as Nobel Prize, Peace Prize laureate and former UN Secretary General, the late Kofi Annan, former US Assistant Secretary of State for African Affairs, Dr. Jedai Fraser, renowned democracy scholar, Professor Larry Diamond of Stanford University, former Speaker of Parliament, the Right Honorable Peter Alajete, the late, celebrated broadcast journalist Bernard Avle, a former Executive Secretary of the Economic Commission for Africa and founder, President of Africa Center for Economic Transformation, Dr. K.Y. Amwako, among others. This year, we turn our attention to a subject that I think has become a millstone around our neck as a country, the subject of illegal mining, otherwise known as Galamsey. Successive governments have instituted various measures. We have, more or less, this problem has spawned a number of operations, Operation Vanguard, Operation Halt, as well as many different acronyms, the latest of which is NIMOS. It has also generated quite a bit of legislative activity. Several LIs have been passed. All of these with the intent of trying to grapple with a major problem that I think everybody recognizes now as a national crisis. It is for this reason that the choice of topic, Galamsey, a country in search of solutions in plain sight is, I think, quite timely and appropriate. As I think is also our choice of speaker. Our distinguished speaker for today's lecture has been at the forefront of the fight against Galamsey, almost sometimes a lone civic fight, a one-man Galamsey fighter, so to speak, exposing loopholes in our country's approaches and bringing before us the great dangers, the cost and the risk that face us as we deal with this national crisis. Galamsey has, in fact, captured the attention of the country in a way probably that no other issue has during this Fourth Republic. It has featured in our elections. It has featured in many of our conversations. And as a country, I think we remain very much in search of the solution that our speaker finds in plain sight. Erastus Asare Donkor has been reporting on illegal mining for over a decade and has emerged in recent years as really the country's leading, most consistent voice, holding successive governments to account while providing citizens with very critical, timely information on the nature and scale of this crisis. I have no doubt, as the title of his lecture tonight suggests, that indeed he will provide us some clarity and point to the solutions in plain sight that we seem to miss, and also help us to understand why we seem to miss the solutions in plain sight. I will not stand between you and our speaker. I'll just invite you and urge you to participate attentively. And also, I believe at the end of his lecture, there will be opportunity for all of us to have some of our inquiries and questions answered, because this is a subject matter that actually fascinates all of us, intrigues all of us. We seem to understand the dimension of the problem. We seem to know what its cost is. The cost of the problem is, for us as a country, our water bodies, our environment, our public health, all of that information is out there. What continues to elude us is the solution to the problem. And we believe that tonight's lecture will help provide some insights that will be of policy value as well. And this is what we do at CDD. We really try to bring a practical lens to some of these policy challenges by bridging, as we say, research and action through this kind of effort. So thank you for finding time to join us this evening. I think we're going to have a very exciting evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof, for the welcome address. Prof was asking or wondering whether we are missing the solution in plain sight, and I'm asking whether we are ignoring the solution in plain sight. At this juncture, I would like to acknowledge our partners, the Australian High Commission and Stanbic Bank. We'll take solidarity messages from them. First, we start with the Australian High Commission. Let's put our hands together for the Australian High Commission.
Executive Director of the CDD, Professor Kwabene Frimpong Boateng, members of civil society, members of parliament, diplomatic colleagues, friends of the media, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I'm delighted to join you tonight for the 20th edition of the Kronti ne Akwamu public lecture and to provide support. First of all, I want to congratulate the CDD for the last 2 decades of lectures. They've provided an important platform for national dialogue on democratic governance, political accountability, and inclusive growth and development. The CDD and the annual lectures have never shied away from tackling tough questions, and it doesn't get much tougher than the intractable issue of Galamsey, this year's focus of the Kronti ne Akwamu public lecture. Looking at the distinguished participants tonight, I have no doubt that the conversation on illegal mining will help to deepen the public understanding of the crisis, because it is a crisis, and hopefully galvanize collective action towards policy solutions. The government of Ghana has moved quickly to signal that combating illegal mining is a top priority. I heard this again this morning from the Deputy Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, a top priority. There can be no doubt about the complexity of the challenge and the need for multifaceted solutions. As the government develops and implements the strategy for the extractive sector, Australia stands ready to support these efforts where possible. And we will continue to explore how Australian expertise, technology, and partnerships can contribute to Ghana's success. We have supported Ghana's efforts to strengthen governance and environmental protection, including through a very successful Australia Award Scholarship Program. In fact, I'm always proud to stand up in front of audiences like yourself to share the story of Australian companies' contribution to the extractive sector in Ghana over the last 50 years, a story of responsible investment, commitment to local communities, and adherence to the highest standards of health, safety, and environmental practice. We do have a large mining footprint in the region, including in the 9 countries that I cover in the sub-region. Australia brings world-class expertise and cutting-edge technology to the table, and about $60 billion worth of investment across the continent in the extractive sector. The sector's corporate social responsibility contributions, including in communities where illegal mining is rife, are significant, yet often under-recognised. That is why the Australian High Commission was pleased to support the launch of the inaugural Africa Extractive Media Fellowship last month. This 6-month program equips journalists with the tools, exposure, and mentorship needed to tell nuanced, impactful stories about the extractive sector. And the impact, of course, of illegal mining is going to be a strong focus. It has to be. In this regard, I note the participation tonight of a distinguished investigative journalist, Erastus Asare Donkor, the one-man Galamsey fighter, as we heard earlier tonight. We do recognize that mining, illegal or legal, large-scale or small-scale, can drive community tension. The Australian government's support for the Mining for Peace project over the past 2 years recognizes that sustainable development and community resilience go hand in hand. It recognizes that creating opportunities for young people is among the most meaningful contributions we can make to improved security. I see illegal mining as very much a national security issue. The Mining for Peace project has taken a thoughtful, community-centered approach through research, dialogue, and new practical skills training. The project has engaged directly with mining communities. Again, this is key. And I was delighted that the initial findings were presented at the Australian High Commission's West Africa Mining Security Conference in 2024. And in terms of practical outcomes, the project is providing livelihood skills for youth in 10 mining communities across 5 regions in Ghana, youth who would otherwise be involved in illegal mining. To my mind, this is a good example of a partnership between government, civil society, communities, and the private sector. They have to be part of the solution. It would be good to see more of these types of partnerships specifically focused on Galamsey. And with Australian companies operating responsibly in country, supporting community-focused initiative reinforces our commitment to sustainable, responsible mining that delivers benefits beyond the mining site. Ladies and gentlemen, I encourage you to use this national dialogue tonight to ask the hard questions, to share frank assessments, and make policy recommendations that will make a difference. Thank you for your attention.
And we heard from the Australian High Commissioner, Ms. Bernice Owen-Jones. Thank you very much for that. We'll also take a message from Stanbic Bank's Malcolm Afajano. Please, let's give it up for him. Let's do it better, please. Malcolm Afajano. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Standing on the existing protocols, I recognize everybody here. It's an amazing opportunity for us to be here as part of this occasion. This is one of the most enduring platforms in this country. That we've seen it blossom over 20 years. Speaks to who we are. And the bank is proud to be associated with this platform for the simple reason that we are defined by who we are. We say Ghana is our home, and I believe Ghana is the home of everybody here today. And what do we do to our homes? We take excellent care of it. And we do that through different tiers. We do that by creating the right economic environment. We do that by being corporate citizens, and indeed, we make the case that there is opportunity for us to move out from being corporate citizens to becoming corporate patriots. And that's the space we believe we must be operating in. And what do patriots do? Patriots take care of their home. They take care of their land. When there are difficult issues, when there are conversations that are tough to be had, they find ways of coming together to be difference makers. And we believe that this topic especially is particularly an imperative, given where we are going. Our business depends on this country thriving and operating at the highest levels. It depends on this country being the beacon of hope for the billions of youth here. And whatever it takes to make Ghana our home, very prosperous, is what the bank stands for. To that extent, it's a privilege again to be part of this 20th anniversary lecture, and we wait with bated breath to take inspiration, and not only that, to act on it to be the difference makers. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Malcolm Fajanu is Executive Head of Brands and Marketing at Stanbic Bank, and they are partners, also the Australian High Commission. We'll also like to acknowledge some of our partners: Sadhguru Travels, KPMG, Multimedia Group Limited, Sun Lodge Hotel, Unique Image, and AA Sabo. And there are some very distinguished ladies and gentlemen amongst us this evening. We'll also like to acknowledge them. I'll start with Mr. Amos Ansar. He's with KPMG. Please, if you're here, let's see you. Let's wave. Give him a round of applause. We also have here Colonel William Norte. He's with the Ghana Armed Forces and is representing the Chief of Defense Staff. Let's see you wave, sir. Thank you very much. Also with us is Yogendra Pal, the High Commissioner for India. Can we see you, please? All the same, we give him a round of applause. And Ambassador Dr. Eunice Brookman, EMISA Council of State. Thank you very much for coming. Also with us is Honorable Dr. Osu Efriyi-Akoto, former Minister for Food and Agriculture. Delighted to have you, sir. Philip Morte is also a member of Council of State. Then we have His Excellency Rance Kinniback. He's the EU Ambassador to Ghana. You're welcome, sir. We also have Jonas Clarks, Deputy Head of Delegation. Then Honorable Amprichum Sapon Kweko, he's ranking member on the Committee on Lands and Natural Resources. May we see you wave, sir? Thank you for coming. Also, we have the CDD board members, and they are represented by Sadia Chineri Hesse. Please, glad to have you here. Professor Bafwa Jimendria is also with us. Prof, we're grateful for your presence here this evening. We also have Professor Jima Bwedi. He's also here with us. Thank you for that. And Mr. James Straha. Thank you for coming. Also with us this evening is Cordeo board members. We have Ms. Elizabeth Villas. Thank you for coming. And Ambassador Francis Chega. At this juncture, we would like to invite Ms. Sadia Chineri Hesse to introduce the chairman for this evening's lecture. Please give her a round of applause.
Thank you. Good evening. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, may I stand on existing protocols? The lot has fallen on me to introduce the chair, and I do it as a matter of pride and a matter of joy. He's a gentleman. When you hear his name, you often think about him in relation to matters of the heart. Well, in a clinical or medical sense. Today, he is here to talk about an issue that is close to the heart of Ghana as a nation. He is a voice in the land. He really needs no introduction. But I will share a few things about him, and I hope you will hear something that perhaps you didn't know. Our chair, Professor Kobna Frimpong Boateng, is one of Africa's most distinguished cardiothoracic surgeons, a pioneer medical scientist, and a national figure whose work has transformed healthcare and medical education and influenced environmental policy in Ghana and beyond. He graduated from the University of Ghana Medical School in 1975 with an MB-CHB degree, winning the prestigious Eastman Prize in Surgery. And after completing his housemanship at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, he served as a medical officer at the Komfa Noche Teaching Hospital, where he also worked as a demonstrator in gross anatomy at the School of Medical Sciences. Postgraduate studies took him to Hanover Medical University in Germany, where he qualified as a general, cardiothoracic, and vascular surgeon. He became a consultant cardiothoracic surgeon and one of the pioneers of the heart transplantation program in Hanover, where he also taught undergraduate and postgraduate studies in thorax, cardiothoracic, and vascular surgery. In 1985, he performed the first of many heart transplants, earning worldwide recognition as the first black person to perform a heart transplant. Congratulations, sir. In November 1988, he performed Hanover's first heart-lung transplant, cementing his place among the global elite of cardiothoracic surgeons. 1989 saw the professor return to Ghana, where he established the National Cardiothoracic Center and the Ghana Heart Foundation. And these are institutions that continue to save lives and shape the future of cardiac care in the region. He joined the University of Ghana Medical School in 2000, becoming an associate professor of surgery that year and rising to full professorship in 2002. The professor has held several key national leadership positions, including Chief Executive Officer of Kolebu Teaching Hospital, President, Ghana Red Cross Society, Chairman, Public Utility Regulations Commission, and Chair of the Presidential Committee on Vaccine Development and Production. A respected academic and researcher, he has been a fellow of this academy, where we are, since 2002, and is also a fellow of the Ghana Medical Association. In May 2011, he was made an honorary member of the German Surgical Society. His national awards include the Companion of the Order of the Volta, one of Ghana's highest awards. Internationally, he received the African Heroes Award from Ohio University in 2012. 2017, he was appointed as Ghana's Minister for the Environment, Science, Technology, and Innovation. His report on illegal mining has become a key reference document in Ghana's fight against the menace and is influencing policy changes and accountability frameworks. As a deeply committed person to environmental sustainability, he researches alternative energy production, including biodiesel from jatropha oil, biogas from human and animal waste, and biomass utilization. Despite his very busy schedule, he has made time to author 2 influential books entitled Deep Down My Heart, A History of Cardiothoracic Surgery in Ghana, and Taming a Monster, Managing Kolebu Teaching Hospital. He has contributed chapters to several other publications. Just recently, as in 3 weeks ago, specifically on Monday, the 3rd of November this year, the President of the Federal Republic of Germany, Dr. Frank-Walter Steinmeier, honored our professor with the Federal Cross of Merit in recognition of his remarkable contributions to medical cooperation between Ghana and Germany. Again, congratulations, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, may I respectfully hand you over to our chair. And Mr. Chairman, your audience is ready for you. Thank you very much.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, again, standing on the existing protocol, it's an honor and a privilege for me to chair this function. I have known Erastus for a very long time, and as you just heard, when I was Minister for Environment, Science, Technology, and Innovation, and we started the fight against illegal mining, we had a task force, and we were looking for somebody who will accompany or embed with our task force and record everything that was going on in the field. So that is how we got to know Erastus in 2017. So he was embedded with our task force and recorded everything. As you can see, we approached the work from a non-partisan point of view, just recording what was happening to environment and its biodiversity. So what you're going to hear from Erastus is authentic. No party coloration, just love for this nation and its environment. So that's what I'll say for now. But the second thing I want to say is, for me, as a doctor, as a scientist, when I hear that because of $8 or $10 billion, and the environment has to be destroyed, it's a pity. You also see, the trees are the most prominent things in the forest or in the farmlands. But there are certain things that are more important than trees. Now let's take an animal, a viper. In South America, there's a viper called Botrus jararaca. And this viper is very poisonous. When it bites you, your blood pressure will drop and you may die from hypertension. Of course, scientists go to work. Script company and Brazilians, they go to work and isolated the venom and used this as a template to produce certain drugs. The first one was captopril, which is an angiotensin-converted enzyme inhibitor, ACE inhibitor. Dr. Bukamisa, you know that very well. And from that alone, the company earns about $350 million every year. And there are other derivatives from captopril, lisinopril, ramipril. I'm sure some of you, in fact, I take one of them. So some of you are taking these drugs. And worldwide, manufacturers are earning about $15 billion from the venom of a viper found in the forest. Here in our forest, there are certain people from the Far East who are eating all the snakes in the forest and everything that moves. Apart from that, there are other things that we have in our forest that are very useful. The Madagascar periwinkle plant, that is also served as a template for the manufacture of drugs for childhood cancers, including leukemias. There are many things. Aspirin. 25% of all drugs used in the hospital are plant-based. They are all there. Even mold, molds that you find on the forest floor, where we know where penicillin came from. And to me, as a transplant surgeon, cyclosporin A, which was discovered in the 80s, transformed heart transplantation, especially with the management of rejection. And this was found in the Norwegian fjords. So there are so many things, and this is what the academy here is looking at. There are so many things that we can find in our forest that can give us more money than what you are gaining from gold. But the gold is there. It has to be mined sustainably and with respect for the environment. So this is what I'll say for now. And I think we are in for a treat. Erastus is going to tell us the story about what is happening. And I think we're all going to learn something from it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prof. Prof has written 2 books, very interesting titles. One is Deep Down My Heart. The second is Taming a Monster. And I believe these titles are very apt for tonight's discussion. And even though they are not directly related to illegal mining or Galamsey as we know it, they are just concise for tonight's discussion because we are all trying to tame a monster, aren't we? Now, the time we've all been waiting for is here. I just spotted Mr. Oliver Bakabomawo. When's the next demonstration? Well, I believe he will give us an answer soon. Anyway, I am very delighted and honored and also proud for the next speaker coming to give us tonight's lecture. Erastus Asare Donkor is an investigative, environmental and broadcast journalist and documentary filmmaker and producer with more than 15 years of experience. His work has become a reference point in Ghana, especially in the fight against illegal mining. His commitment to environmental reporting dates back to 2014, when he reported on the degradation of the environment. Now, the invasion of the country's forest and pollution of its water bodies, his work has transcended different governments in Ghana. Erastus is credited for an expose leading to the withdrawal of military personnel, protecting illegal miners, pillaging the Apramprama Forest Reserve in the Ashanti region in 2021. His investigations also led to interventions to curb illegal mining in the Tawasre, Apawasa, Tano Nimre, and Tano Anya forest reserves in Ghana. A celebrated journalist, Erastus was instrumental in reports that exposed the dealings of popular illegal mining kingpin, or Galamsey Queen, known as Aisha 1, leading to her arrest and prosecution. His bold investigations into disturbances at Idra in the Ashanti region of Ghana led to the setting up of a committee by the president to probe the gunning down of 2 residents of security by security forces. Now, his independent investigative work, Destruction for Gold, covering the pollution of rivers and streams in Ghana and the degradation of the environment in Ghana, won him the PAV and SAC Ghana Journalist Association Best Journalist of the Year Award in 2022. Now, he's also recognized both nationally and internationally. His awards include CIMG President Special Award 2022, Emmy Africa PAV and SAC Communicator of the Year 2023, KNUST Department of Planning, Environmental Sustainability Personality of the Year 2023, 27 GJA Awards Best in Illegal Mining 2022, also 3rd place, Kevin Kamodi Environmental Sustainability Award, organized by the Society of Environmental Journalists USA 2024. United States Covering Climate New Journalism Awards Video Documentary Finalist. Also, Ghana Mining Industry Awards, Best Mining Reporter for Broadcast Journalism in 2023. He's also West Africa Media Excellence Conference and Awards 2023 finalist, popularly known as WAMECA, and also the 2025 Environmental Heroes Award Millennium Excellence Awards in Menshure Palace. He holds a Bachelor of Arts in Communication from the University of Ghana, an MA in Communications from the University of Cape Coast, and diplomas in Newspaper Reporting and Broadcast Journalism from the Institute Commercial Management UK. Erastus has undertaken a number of training programs in environmental and climate reporting with the BBC, DW, Media Corporation, and the American Embassy through the Voice of America, covering areas such as mining, environmental regulation, climate change, and nature crimes. He is a 2025 Fellow of Reporters Without Borders, Germany. Erastus is currently an assistant news editor with a multimedia group in Kumasi's Love and Inshira FM. With a round of applause, let's welcome Erastus Asare Donkor.
I think I look a bit taller when I stand on the podium. Good evening. I see a number of known faces, some of them partners in crime. And the chairman for the occasion, Professor Frimpong Boateng, was the one who sent me into the wilderness. He's my biggest partner in crime today. The board members of CDD, board members of CODEO, members of the Diplomatic Corps, all protocols duly observed. It is both an honor and indeed a heavy burden to stand before you to deliver this lecture, especially in the midst of a number of professors who have done quite a number of research into the impact of illegal mining. It's also an honor because this platform has, over the years, championed truth and accountability in our national discourse, and to be here today is not a mere lecture to be taken for granted. Thank you, CDD, for the honor. But being here is also a burden. A burden because the issue before us, Galamsey, remains one of the greatest moral and environmental crimes of our time. On my recent fellowship with Reporters Without Borders, Germany, I encountered a tech expert who was proposing the use of AI and satellite technology to fight Galamsey. I thought it was an interesting suggestion until he said the whole idea was to identify fresh areas of Galamsey for government to target them. The question is no longer how to diagnose the problem. And the question is not what do we do. The question is why we refuse to do what we already know. Permit me to take you down history a bit and drive you through the scale of Galamsey in Ghana. And I have divided this impact into 3 areas: destruction of forest reserves, pollution of water bodies, and mining in settlements. When the MC was starting to introduce the program, she said something about how much we're getting from gold. In fact, how much are we losing is also a pertinent question, especially when you look at the cost we are building for future generations. It will take about $32,000 to reclaim 1 acre of degraded land. Multiply that by the thousands of acres we are leaving behind. As of the year 1900, Ghana had a closed or primary forest covering an area of about 6,500,000 hectares. By the year 2000, this figure had reduced to 4,200,000 hectares. This has been widely attributed to the 1982-1983 wildfires that hit the country. Between the year 2000 and 2015, Ghana's primary forest reduced to 1,450,000 hectares. And this was the period that Ghana moved into artisanal mining using simple to medium implements or tools. However, from 2015 to 2024, the country lost a whopping 430,000 hectares of its closed primary forest, bringing Ghana's entire closed forest space to just 1,020,000 hectares. During this period, the country transitioned very fast from the use of simple tools in artisanal mining to the use of heavy earth-moving equipment in small-scale mining. And that is where we saw the influx of Chinese miners into the country in droves. According to reports by the World Resources Institute, Ghana's largest percentage increase in primary forest loss in recent years was recorded between 1990 and 2010. In a period of 20 years, the country lost 125,400 hectares of primary forest. This is a loss of about 6,250 hectares, or 1.68% per year. However, Ghana experienced the highest proportion of loss of any tropical country in 2022. In 2022 alone, the country lost 18,000 hectares of primary forest. Mr. Chairman, let's note that the underlying factor to these trends is attributed mostly to forest degradation and not deforestation. And deforestation involves conversion of forest to other land use, whilst forest degradation results in reduced forest capacity to provide goods and service, reduced in quantity and quality, with its structure and functions severely impaired. According to Global Forest Watch, a forest data technology platform, the corresponding carbon emissions to our forest loss is 46.8 megatons, equivalent to emissions from 10 million cars driven for a whole year. The available data indicate that the top 3 regions responsible for 62% of all tree cover loss between 2001 and 2024 are the Western, Ashanti, and Eastern regions, with the Western region registering most tree cover loss at 432,000 hectares. Notable forest reserves heavily affected by illegal mining activities include the Apamprama Forest Reserve. And it goes to the core of my heart, really, when I talk about Apamprama Forest Reserve. And its degradation started in 2018, when we started talking about it. The late Sir John put a banner in front of the forest and said they were doing reclamation. In fact, my investigations revealed that the only reclamation that was being done then was Galamsey. And until date, more people joined. Half of that forest is gone. We can talk about Ofin Shelter Belt, which is under siege currently in the Ashanti region, Oda River Forest Reserve, Tano Anya, which has been invaded, Tano Nimri Forest Reserve, Apawasa, Tano Ofin, Yoyo, Boyne River, Subri, Krukusia, Etiwa, Cape 3 Points, Jimira and Jimira Extension in the Ashanti region, Desiree, Asananyo Forest Reserve. And I remember this forest so much because that is where my team and I were physically assaulted late last year. Supima and Bonsa River Forest Reserve. These are but a few of the degraded forest reserves. Ladies and gentlemen, at the beginning of this year, there were 9 forest reserves labeled red by the Forestry Commission, indicating that these are active illegal mining sites, difficult to control with large numbers of excavator operations with violent armed gangs, usually preventing state institutions access. By 30th August 2025, security agencies have been able to reduce these red forest reserves to 1. And I must congratulate the IGP for that, and NIMUS as well, and our Ghana Armed Forces. But as at 15th October 2025, we're back to 5 red forest reserves. Currently, the Bui National Park is classified as orange, with frequent incursions by illegal miners, usually with excavators. And these miners are generally non-violent, but have the tendency to become violent occasionally, according to the Forestry Commission. The Commission says they have the potential to flip to red if action is not taken to flush them out. As of October 15th this year, there were 27 reserves classified as yellow with medium difficulty. Now, through the Multimedia Group Limited, we started documenting and adding video evidence to the destruction of our forests. The Forest Under Siege documentary series started with the Apamprama Forest Reserve and is on YouTube. In the coming days, we'll be screening that of Tano Nimri Forest Reserve. And this was done in partnership with Reporters Without Borders, Germany. Whilst I commend this government for finally arresting and leading prosecution of directors of Akonta Mining Limited, one of the key degraders of the Tano Nimri Forest Reserve, after years of ineptitude, others whose actions led to the degradation of the Upper Wassa Forest Reserve and the Apamprama Forest Reserve are still walking around. Some of them have assumed the destruction of other reserves. For instance, in 2018, Heritage Imperial Company Limited was mining in the Kobro section of the Apamprama Forest Reserve without the appropriate license. There is substantial evidence to that effect, and the state must not allow that to slide and burden the taxpayer with the cost of reclaiming that forest. And Prof, who sent me on that errand to monitor the Galamsey activities that seized about 35 excavators from that forest, knows what I'm talking about. Water pollution. Mr. Chairman, I'm beginning to sound like a broken record, talking about polluted rivers and streams. in Ghana. In fact, when you travel across Ghana today, our rivers tell the story of our failure. The Pra, Ofin, Ankobra, Brim, Tano, Densu, Ayensu, Butiri, Ashiri, Ofin, Oda, Bia, Bisi, Owere, Atrunsu, just to mention a few. One sources of life now flow like wounds across our conscience. They have turned brown, heavy, and lifeless. The contaminants they carry are known to our researchers and policymakers alike. During the production of my documentary, Poison for Gold, we fetched samples from polluted rivers across the country. Heavy metal testing at the KNUST's Chief Laboratory revealed appreciable levels of poisonous heavy metals like arsenic, cadmium, chromium, and lead. Some registered over 200% above the WHO standards. Several scientists from the University of Mines and Technology, University of Energy and Natural Resources, and KNUST have done works establishing disturbing levels of contamination of our water bodies from irresponsible mining. And yet, here we are, doing very little, not even running, when there is so much fire on the mountain. These are freshwater sources that are used to fuel agriculture and fishing activities across the country. I doubt if we can fish in the Ankobra today. Air pollution. Mr. Chairman, irresponsible mining and the use of mercury also affect the air we breathe. Today, quite a number of gold buying centers are scattered across rural communities of our country. They burn mercury amalgamated gold on a daily basis, filling open air consistently with poisonous white plumes of vaporized mercury. People living and working in and around artisanal gold mining communities are exposed to mercury vapor, which may negatively affect their health due to the high volatility of mercury. In a study by Opoku and others, 2020, on exposure to airborne mercury at Bani in the Talensi district of the Upper East region, 91% of households where amalgam burning takes place had concentrations of between 500,000 and 800,000 nanograms per cubic meter, greater than a safe limit of 300 nanograms per cubic meter set by the United States Environmental Protection Agency, USEPA. The study found 64% of the households with no burning had concentrations greater than the reference dose. The health risks estimated from these concentrations indicate that minors and non-members of the community are at risk of adverse health effects from inhalation of mercury vapor. Health risks. Ladies and gentlemen, data from the Climate Change and Environmental Health Group of the Pediatric Society of Ghana on selected birth defects referred from district hospitals in Ghana to a major referral center in Ghana, single center, from January to June this year show a disturbing trend. 12 cases of anorectal malformation, a congenital defect where a baby's anus, rectum, and associated nerves do not develop properly, leading to issues with normal bowel movements, were referred to a major hospital between January and June this year. Half of these cases were from Galamsey-prone areas. Out of 5 cases of intestinal obstruction, a partial or complete blockage of the bowel referred, 4 of them came from Galamsey-prone areas. 7 cases of gastroschisis. Pardon me, I'm not a scientist, so the names are a bit a mouthful. A birth defect where a baby's abnormal wall does not form completely, resulting in a hole, usually to the right of the belly button, through which the intestines and sometimes other organs protrude, were recorded in the same period. 5 of these cases were referred from Galamsey areas. Out of 8 cases of spina bifida, a birth defect in which the spinal cord doesn't close completely, resulting in an opening in the spine. 6 of them were referred from Galamsey-prone areas. 3 cases of encephalocele, a rare birth defect where a sac-like protrusion of brain tissue and membranes pushes through an opening in the skull, were recorded in the same period this year. All these cases were referred from district hospitals in Galamsey-prone areas. Much as I would want to believe that this is a mere coincidence, doctors are looking into interesting possible links to these geographical areas. Of the 24 out of 35 cases from Galamsey areas, 16, that is 66.6% of the mothers had been directly involved in Galamsey as sand carriers, sand washers, or married to men engaged in Galamsey. Mr. Chairman, permit me to bring to the attention of this gathering and the entire country a highly dangerous practice happening in some areas in Ghana today. It's called cyanide leaching. Cyanide is a very dangerous chemical, and I don't need to lecture professors on the dangers of cyanide. It has the potential to poison air, water, and skin. Breathing, drinking, or touching cyanide can kill you. It poisons rivers and wells. It kills fishes, domestic animals, and makes soil infertile. It lasts for years in the ground. In Ghana, its use is strictly regulated under the Minerals and Mining Health, Safety, and Technical Regulations 2012, LI 2182. Cyanide is permitted for large-scale mining operations and licensed gold processing plants, provided they adhere to stringent safety and environmental protocols. Small-scale miners are prohibited from using cyanide. Current regulations explicitly do not permit the use of cyanide or other leaching techniques for small-scale miners. In small-scale mining, Galamsey is a criminal offense and considered a monumental crime due to the environmental devastation it causes. But why is cyanide being used in large quantities in many communities by illegal miners in Ghana today? Leaching sites, commonly referred to as sankofa, can be found in many communities in the Esutifi North and Esutifi South districts of the Ahafo region. My investigations have revealed a number of cyanide leaching sites in Kenyasi number 1 and Kenyasi number 2. And Totroso alone has over 15 of these leaching sites in the Esutifi North district. I found a number of them in Hwidiam, Bronikrum, Ataniata, Nkasem, and Romso, all in the Esutifi South district of the Ahafo region. Many of the leaching sites are found in Totroso were sited along paths of 3 seasonal streams in Totro, Aframwa, and Kokwampa, which converge and empty into the Tano River. When it rains, the untreated cyanide tailings, ponds, mixed slurry washes into these streams, moving through farmlands. It will be recalled that personnel of NIMOS recently raided one of these sites at Bronikrum in the Esutifi South district, which resulted in an attack on the personnel. That site was engaged in cyanide leaching for gold, popularly called sankofa. The 2 drums of cyanide seized at the site are still in the custody of NIMOS. Distinguished guests, some questions beg for answers. Were the MPs who intervened in that operation aware of the sankofa practice, which is poisoning their constituents? Is it not surprising and shocking that as at the time of developing my speech, the over 15 cyanide leaching sites were still in active operation? Ladies and gentlemen, these nature crimes are happening not because of the absence of legislation, but a gap in enforcement, lack of seriousness attached to these crimes and their impact by DCEs, chiefs, law enforcement agencies, MPs, and opinion leaders. From where I sit, I get numerous requests for help from helpless farmers whose lands have been forcibly taken over, communities reeling under the negative impact of illegal mining. I see a system that is broken at the local level and a security apparatus that is either severely complicit in the issues they complain about or have failed to attach seriousness to such issues. Today, illegal mining in settlements, mining close to a public road, as is being done at Osino, close to Kumasi Accra Road, and Wasa Japa on the Ayamfree Road. Mining on water bodies using dangerous chemicals to process gold within settlements do not attract the attention of local security agencies. Ordinary citizens who report these cases rather become victims. Just a few days ago, the Akwamu Hene of Mpasaso No. 2 in the Ashanti region reached out to me to save his traditional area from the worsening impact of illegal mining. But I'm not a military person. I don't have powers. I'm a common reporter. Nana J. Mensah showed me evidence of petitions to the Ghana Police Service, Regional Security Liaison Office, the Minerals Development Fund, DCE for Hafuano Southwest, and others. But for weeks, nobody had extended an arm to help deal with a practice which is criminal under our statutes and endangering lives and destroying livelihoods of communities under his jurisdiction. And I get many, at least I get like 5 of such complaints or requests for help from farmers and people across the country on a daily basis. For weeks, the illegal miners have continued their invasion deep into the Tano Offing Forest Reserve and have heavily polluted streams like Bone, Domiafum, and Esuako, which serve communities like Nyamebechere, Adiemra, Uforikrum, Ango, Dotiem, Achiase, Esuako, Menshia, and James Kuma. How do we say we are fighting illegal mining when even the first responders do not pay attention to nature crimes at the local level? Despite the efforts of the men and women of the Forestry Commission, particularly the Forest Services Division, the Rapid Response Teams, the IGP's team, NIMOS, and the military, perpetrators receive little or no punishment. Out of 1,190 illegal miners arrested between 2023 and October 2025, only 35 have been successfully prosecuted. The forest district offices of Bekwai, Nkawie, Ofinso, and recently Bebieni were brazenly raided by armed thugs, identified as operatives of national security in uniform, with no consequence. Their issue was that they were not happy with the fight brought to them by the Forestry Commission guards. On October 14, 2024, 30 illegal miners were arrested for mining illegally in compartments 89 and 91 of the Bonsa River Forest Reserve, close to Takwa in the Western region, by forest guards from the Aboso Range. The suspects have since been transported to court for trial at the cost of the Forestry Commission. Ladies and gentlemen, I recently cited a document bearing notice of the commencement of plea negotiations between the Republic and these accused persons. My checks indicate these negotiations are being done without the involvement of the Forestry Commission. What does such actions in the face of extreme destruction of our forests communicate? Clearly, such actions don't communicate deterrence. Neither do they communicate a sense of urgency in a system ready to engage in a war against fast degradation of forest reserves by illegal miners. Failed enforcement? Mr. Chairman, there is something fundamentally wrong in our quest to fight the wanton destruction of our forests and water bodies. I find it difficult to understand why it has become so difficult to protect a resource governed by specific laws. In fact, if you are looking for how to mine in a forest reserve, it's in our statute books. If you are looking for how to deal with everything concerning mining, it's there. All the environmental infractions related to what we are dealing with in Ghana today have well-stated offenses and corresponding punishment enshrined in our body of laws. We have had committees, task forces, military deployments, and countless promises over the years. Yet the destruction continues. Why? Because in this fight, our greatest enemy is not ignorance. It is inconsistency, political interference, and lack of accountability. Because whilst some of us demand accountability, the people we are fighting for come on social media to insult us every day. And they send death threats and other things to us. Why can't the politician tell his constituents who are demanding to mine illegally to do the right thing and work in consistence with the law? We've had interventions like Galamsey, Operation Vanguard, Operation Halt 1, Operation Halt 2, and some ad hoc enforcement groups in between. All of them faced one big challenge: political interference. All these interventions, many of them I have followed, were micromanaged by politicians with vested interests in the canker they were fighting. I call it the betrayal from within. Today, NIMOS has begun some remarkable enforcement activities sweeping across illegal mining camps along some major water bodies. But the team faces similar challenges from party executives, MPs, big party financiers, and even some local government heads who intervene on behalf of nature criminals and continue to fight against law enforcement efforts. Recently, my team and I exposed illegal mining activities downstream of the river Bisi at Adroba Bisi in the Tano North municipality. The municipal chief executive, Pius Opoku, took local journalists and some chiefs to a so-called clean spot of the river Bisi to deceive the public into believing claims of Galamsey were baseless. And so whilst the pollution was going on downstream, he went upstream where it was clean, fetched some of the water. He saw those videos on social media, and he even drank some of it to say that nothing is happening. But indeed, he knew that mining was happening downstream. Our consistent fact-checking exposed him. And this is disinformation of the public by a public official. What is his interest? Our investigations later revealed the Tano North Municipal Assembly issued a business operating license to Kakrob Limited Company. On the license, it was indicated prospecting. I have seen similar licenses issued by some other assemblies to miners found in similar activities. The question is, do local assemblies have the power to issue prospecting licenses without recourse to the Minerals Commission? Can miners operate with business operating licenses? In November this year, the MCE for Brim Central, Solomon Brako Kusi, was accused by the MP of the area of facilitating Galamsey activities there. Subsequently, some illegal miners in Achimota accused him of extorting 15,000 Ghana cedis each from the illegal miners. In reaction, the MCE held a press conference admitting to taking a sum of 15,000 cedis, but argued that he issued a receipt for it. And he was indicating that the monies were fines for illegal mining. An upcoming investigative piece by the Kumasi newsroom of JoyNews will expose similar practices by MCEs in Galamsey-prone areas. These transactions smack of double standards. Not only are they shady and phony, but impede honesty in the fight against illegal mining. Ladies and gentlemen, the problem is not the miner in the pit. It is the leader looking away. This is why I say respectfully that the president must begin holding MMDCEs accountable for Galamsey in their jurisdictions. If a district's rivers are polluted and its lands destroyed, the MMDCE must explain why, because he is head of DISEC, he is head of MUSEC. That's the District Security Council. Accountability must not end with the illegal miner. It must reach the political authority that allowed it to happen. Likewise, Galamsey must be seen as a crime at the local level just like armed robbery. The next step is technology. The Minerals Commission must operationalize the excavator tracking system that was introduced years ago. Every excavator must be registered and tracked. And this is not rocket science. And I don't see why heavy equipment must come into the country, go into the hinterlands and start doing its work before it is registered and tracked. Something that can be done. And that office was set up in the previous administration. Modern office, fantastic one. And you can track excavators in real time on a screen, wherever they may be. You can even stop them with what they call geofencing. Why is it not being used? Any machine that is not registered and is found in a mining zone must be seized immediately. This is not a suggestion, it is common sense. You cannot claim to fight Galamsey while excavators disappear and reappear like ghosts, when they can be tracked and monitored in real time and their activities controlled. We also need to declare water bodies and major biodiversity areas as national security zones, no-go areas. But that will need strict enforcement to work. At present, enforcement is weak, and one reason is simple. NIMOS lacks a dedicated budget, logistics, and a political shield against friendly fire and opposition from within. For the budget aspect, I've heard some millions allocated in the budget for them. I hope it comes very fast. But what about the political shield? The president must make a strong statement to party people and his own appointees to stay away from NIMOS if we are really interested in fighting. How do we expect them to protect rivers when we don't protect them? We need to tighten enforcement by local police and decentralize NIMOS to enforce government-proposed security zones. NIMOS itself must have internal watchdog control mechanisms to prevent it from being corrupt and ineffective. And to all the political parties, this is not a political play ball. And we have played politics with Galamsey for a very long time. But the effects of Galamsey and the children who are getting sick and dying, they do not have NPP or NDC tax on them. Mr. Chairman, allow me to make a humble suggestion. If we are truly serious about this fight, we need credible intelligence from those who see it firsthand: journalists, community members, forestry officers, and civic leaders. They are willing to feed the president real-time reports from the ground, not filtered through bureaucracy, but through truth. At the same time, the Forestry Commission must be retooled and monitored to prevent the open looting of our forest reserves, often in the name of reclamation. The Forestry Commission must be upgraded to a paramilitary status trained to properly demarcate and man the forest frontiers of our country. What is currently happening is that they've demarcated and given one forest guard about 10 acres of forest to oversee. And he has a bicycle and one kotokru. Kotokru is a machete. And that's what he's using to protect 10 acres of forest against people who are wielding assault rifles and are ready to kill. Ladies and gentlemen, let's now talk about licensing system. It's a complex maze, discouraging genuine investors and encouraging illegality. Many Ghanaians who want to mine responsibly with proper technology and environmental plans are frustrated by endless paperwork and bribery demands. Some have stayed on the process for years, renewing processing fees annually, whilst illegal miners go behind them to destroy the concessions they are trying to legitimize. We are forcing good people into bad choices. Let's make licensing simple, transparent, and fair, so that the only illegal miners that will be left will be those who choose to be. But it is also important to note that we cannot enforce without empathy. The fight against illegal mining, Galamsey, must go hand in hand with alternative livelihood programs. People need something to live for and live on. We must invest in skills, agriculture, ecotourism, and local enterprise. And because we are concentrated on gold, we are even forgetting that we have some very nice products from the forest that equally make very good money. And when you mine for gold in those forests, you destroy it forever. Otherwise, we will only be pushing poverty from one pit to another. We must also be careful and establish boundaries and red zones for mining. Being poor doesn't mean you can eat with both hands. Mining on or along water bodies must be a no-no, no matter the case. We should be careful we do not create a Galamsey mentality for our teeming youth. The idea that the only means to an end is mining. That will be dangerous for a country whose gold resources will not last forever. At the same time, reclamation and desilting of rivers must begin. We cannot just stop the bleeding, we must start the healing. And so whilst NIMOS is going around and driving away and arresting and banning, we should start to see them taking what they ban off the water courses, taking the champagne machines out. It's huge metal. It can sell for scraps. It can be better off somewhere. But let's not leave them. We must start desilting and clearing the water bodies. Ladies and gentlemen, the theme of this year's Kronti Akwamu Lecture, Galamsey, a country's search for a solution in plain sight, is not poetic. It is painfully accurate. The activities of illegal miners are not only ravaging Ghana's forests and water bodies, but are also depriving communities of access to clean water, arable land, and healthy living conditions, which are basic human rights. And that is why I do not understand when I get told by the Ghana Water Company that they've closed down their Cape Coast outfit, Kwenyako. And yesterday I saw some riders making money by transporting gallons of borehole water for indigents. In a country where we have major rivers running through almost every part of our country, why is nobody running? Communities in the Western Ashanti and Eastern regions are suffering in silence. Rivers once used for fishing, drinking, and farming are now poisoned by mercury and cyanide. Crops are failing and entire livelihoods are disappearing. It is then sad that duty bearers have begun dismissing data, confirming other studies which point to the possible contamination of the food chain in Ghana. The Environmental Protection Authority and the Pure Earth Research, which found high levels of heavy metals in soil, water, air, crops, and fish, I would say is a sequel to other works done by scientists with CSIR, University of Mines and Energy, the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, and the University of Energy and Natural Resources. Soil scientist Dr. Kobina Mensah, medical geologist Professor Emmanuel Ahin, KNUST's PhD researcher Kwadwo Owusu-Boakye, and a host of others have long documented the penetration of heavy metals from mining into our food space. Instead of dismissing or casting doubt over such quality data, duty bearers and those who hold sensitive positions should rather learn from them. They should be the starting point of caution, a strong reminder that we are treading dangerous grounds. Realistically, we will be daydreaming to assume that the scale of irresponsible mining we are witnessing in Ghana will have no or minimal consequence on food quality and food security. If those entrusted with safety and protection belittle the gravity of the challenge at hand, then we are in danger of being complacent and going to sleep and waking up worse than we imagined. In some instances, state security forces deployed to halt illegal mining have themselves been implicated in extortion and brutality. And we must be watching out for that. Civil society organizations, environmental activists, and legal aid groups continue to push back. Nonetheless, from community-based monitoring to litigation against illegal mining permits, these actors form the backbone of resistance, often with little to no protection of funding. and that gives me hope. The Media Coalition Against Illegal Mining, for instance, has played a pivotal role in breaking the barrier of restricted civic space in Ghana, particularly in the context of environmental justice and human rights. The coalition is not only exposing environmental crimes, but also reclaiming democratic space. By combining advocacy with robust journalism, the coalition is a formidable force in restoring civic trust, demanding accountability, and reinforcing the role of the media as a cornerstone of Ghana's development. And the Center for Democratic Governance and the Academy of Arts and Sciences have also raised quality platforms for raising such an imminent national disaster to the consideration of the public to inform policy direction. And I thank you very much. You've done well. By persistently highlighting the complicity and negligence of state actors, we push illegal mining to the forefront of national dialogue and compel government institutions to respond, take action, and initiate reforms in mineral resource governance. Communities affected by Galamsey often suffer in silence due to political intimidation, lack of access to media platforms, or fear of reprisals. In conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, the solutions to the Galamsey menace, as I have outlined them, let's resource law enforcement agencies. Let's make illegal mining or nature crimes urgent and critical, like other notable crimes at the local level. And the police must stand up to that task. Let's hold local leaders, MMDCs, accountable for illegal mining. Let's track equipment across the country. Let's make the Forestry Commission more formidable. Let's promote other employment sectors of the economy aside gold. Let's protect our rivers and protect the right to farm. We should empower our people. We should kill the gold mentality as the only major means of living. Let's revive the NCCE and let it play its vital role of education on the effects of Galamsey. What we lack is not strategy. It is political will and moral courage. We have seen the truth. We just need the courage to act on it. Mr. Chairman, Galamsey is not just an environmental crisis. It is a test of leadership, of governance, and of conscience. If we fail this test, our rivers will carry the memory of our silence. Our forests will not forgive us. But if we rise together as policymakers, chiefs, journalists, professionals, and citizens, we can still turn the tide. Let history record that when our rivers cried, we listened. And when our forests fell silent, we spoke and acted. May our country find the courage to save herself from this Galamsey rape. God bless our homeland, Ghana. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Erastus. Brilliant lecture by all standards. I remember the president saying that he cannot declare a state of emergency just yet. I don't know whether he will change his mind if he's watching this program this evening. And from what Erastus just said, I believe the monster that we're trying to tame now is the political interference. At this juncture, I'm sure we all have questions, and Erastus will be taking them. I would like to invite to the podium the chairman for the program, Professor Frimpong Martin, to kindly come up here and sit by Erastus. Please, let's give him a round of applause. We'll be taking questions very shortly. At this juncture, we'll invite the culture dance troupe to give us a performance. Please, let's put our hands together for them. I believe that the cultural dance troupe is getting ready. Let's give them a round of applause as they come to stage. Once again.
think that I've also right. We, on the other hand, are impediments as a people. I want to pick your thoughts. How do you think we should approach this? Certainly, we can't jail everybody, but how do you think we should approach citizen complicity in the fight against illegal mining? Thank you.
All right. Yes.
Thank you. My name is Erastus Asare Donkor. I am a green skills person, and I work in TVET. On social media recently, you will see lots of videos where young people from communities are impeding or preventing the task force from coming to their communities to enforce to enforce the fight against Galamsey. Have you perchance spoken to leaders of the communities, chiefs, or the traditional rulership to have their thoughts on this occurrence? Thank you.
Thank you. There's one hand at the back here on my left. And there's another hand at the back. Mr. Pomponi will ask the question, but okay, let's take this one.
Okay, my question goes to Mr. Asare. You talk about the task force not having, they need enough resources. Why not use the military? Because they have the equipment to fight the Galamsey. So why are we using the task force?
Let's take two more people, and then we'll come back.
All right.
I'm not seeing women. The women aren't. Oh, okay. So we'll come. Let's take one woman, and then we'll come after Dr. Pomponi. Then we come to you.
Okay. Thank you very much. My name is Gipsy.
Oh.
My question is that when you look at the Land Act 2020, it indicates that lands in Ghana belong to families, they belong to clans. And so I don't know how people operating illegal mining are able to access lands in these forests. Have we looked at addressing the concept of land ownership and how they access these lands?
Right.
Thank you.
Dr. Pomponi will take your question and then we'll come back.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Erastus, for the lecture. Two things. It's so hard, I mean, even from where I sit, and I think I have more information than most people, to be able to measure progress in this Galamsey fight. So what would you say progress will look like in a year? And then secondly, I think some of the questionnaires' earlier contributions or questions speak to this challenge of the community. It reminds me of the Niger Delta and the way in which increasingly community members began to sort of radicalize and mobilize against attempts to stop oil bunkering and all those kinds of issues. What have you seen any kind of initiative that is seeking to try to, address this challenge with the community? Because I don't see how any army will be able to enforce any law if the community across all Galamsey sites decide that they are going to fight. I don't think we'll have the numbers to do that. So are there alternative ways of dealing with that problem? Because I really think that, for me, that is a serious national security problem if we don't take care. And through some of the atrocities and, kinetic actions that have been taken, people might begin to arm themselves. And that's where it becomes a problem.
So we'll take this set of questions and then we'll come back to the audience. So, Mr. Asare Donkor and Chairman, over to you.
I have to go first.
Yes.
Okay. So how do we deal with complicity? by traditional authorities or by anybody at all. That is why we have laws. And laws are meant to be enforced. I don't think that people are deterred from going on armed robbery because deep within them they feel it's a moral duty, so they will not do it. It's because they feel that if you do it and you are arrested, you face very stringent punishment, or you can be killed. And that is why they are not doing it. Elsewhere, in other countries that at least have visited the mining areas of Phoenix, Arizona, they do not comply with laws simply because they are saints or they are very good people. It's because there are laws and they are enforced to the letter. And if you are found, you are sure that the law will deal with you, whether you are a chief or whoever you are. But I think that over the years we've allowed the system to be laxed in such a way that people have gotten away with it. And then there is also this political connection. People at the local level, right now, when you go to the local level, those who are mining boldly in settlements and in forest reserves, okay. Those who are mining boldly are doing so because they have party people especially supporting them. It will be so difficult to mine in a forest reserve if you do not have the backing of somebody influential. You simply cannot, because they will not allow you for you to enter with an excavator. But most of the time, somebody who is very influential at the top will call the Forestry Commission manager at the bottom and say, these are my people, allow them to go. Or some deal is struck by the constituency party executive or somebody like that. Every deal that goes down are supported by them. And that's where the complicity starts. And when people begin to feel helpless, when it started, those who wanted to farm wanted them to leave the water bodies and the land for them so they can also farm. You do your gold mining, do it responsibly, let me also farm. But people came in with arms and they bulldozed their way. Today, you'll be there and somebody is mining on your land and there's nothing you can do. Yesterday, I had this call from a lady in Bekwai. 3 days ago, he bought land, started working on it to grow palm, oil palm. And just as she was completing the seedling transplant and everything, Chinese miners have come there and they have started mining. No warning, nothing. And she goes there to confront them. They are armed with pump-action guns. Then she calls me. So I asked her to file a formal complaint with the Bekwai police. The police took her there. They saw the washing plants and equipment. They did not take any action. I don't know why. Yesterday in the night, she calls me whilst I'm sleeping around midnight and says, the people have mounted lights and they are mining in the night on the land, uprooting her seedlings and everything. So I also called the commander in the middle of the night. He was asleep. I said, well, this is what is happening, so you have to deal with it. I don't even know whether they've been arrested or not. But I get that a lot. So when people begin to feel that there's nothing they can do, they also join and they do illegal mining. Because there's nothing to do. They've destroyed their lands forcibly. So I think that if we were to be enforcing it, and we are making it a crime at the local level, and police will be running to assist farmers, to assist people whose lands are being taken, and the law is being enforced, definitely people will know that, well, you cannot do what you like. If you want to mine, people will start falling in line. And that's what happens with enforcement. When you do it well and you do it consistently, people start falling in line. They know that, then you have to go through this before you can do it. But if there are loopholes, then definitely they want to go the simple way. Don't pay any tax. Don't pay reclamation bonds. Don't do anything. Go hide somewhere, dig. Leave the pits behind. Take the money and go your way. It's easy. The second one You asked whether I've spoken to leaders of such communities. Yes. I've spoken to plenty of them in my documentaries. When you watch Distraction for Gold, which is online, I spoke to quite a number of them. Some are genuinely helpless. Others are complicit. In fact, there are chiefs who show the Chinese how to pour libation before they go to pollute the rivers and destroy the lands. One thing the Galamseyers are always afraid of is the spiritual side of things. They don't go mining on breaking day, what they call breaking day, which is a taboo day. Some is Wednesday, some is Thursday, some is Tuesday. They will never go there. And so if a chief were to pour libation or slaughter a ram and say, nobody should enter this place, nobody will go there. But in many cases, you find them complicit. They themselves have received monies, and they are rather forcing it down the throats of their citizens. How are illegal miners assessing these lands when they belong to traditional areas? So one way is what I have told you. Sometimes they will not even inform you. They will bulldoze their way in, and when they ask you to sell, and you are not selling, they dig a trench around your farm, and when you cannot access it, you leave it for them. I spoke to one cocoa farmer who, a summer boy, whose land, he decided not to sell his land. Others sold their land. And so what they did is that they dug a canal around the farm. And when it rained, the Tano River went directly into the cocoa farm and destroyed it. So if you cannot farm anymore, they go in and then they destroy it. With some, they also buy it from individual landowners. And then they start mining. Some chiefs also sell the land. If you have seen a press conference that was done recently by some farmers, and they were complaining that the chief of the area is taking back their land. Though these are farmers who do not own the land. They rent it and they farm on it. But the chief is saying, I want my land back to do Galamsey. And what do you say? Nothing, because you don't own the land. So it depends. Sometimes they are sold willingly, sometimes they force their way in to get the land. What will progress look like in the next 5 years? I'll be elated to see the rivers returning, restoring themselves. I'll be very happy to see Apamprama reclaimed. And I have said it, that in the case that we still want to mine our forest reserves, of course, many of our mining companies are mining in forest reserves, Newmont, Anglo Gold, and others. But they are doing responsible mining. That is why nobody is complaining. So if we want to mine our forest reserve, this is not the way to mine it. Just get an excavator, go everywhere, and then start mining. Why don't we say, okay, we have 288 forest reserves. We're going to mine 10 of them in the next, say, 50 years. We open the bids. If there are Ghanaian interests, and we look at what methodology are they going to use, I will go for hard rock, go down, underground mining, restore the ecological integrity up there, and take your gold from the mining site outside to wash it, so we do not spoil the forest. And all this that I'm saying is in our laws. That if you want to mine in a forest reserve, it shows you how to mine it responsibly. So the solution is enforcement, enforcement, enforcement. Let's tell our people to do the right thing. If you are an MP and your constituents are coming to you, they say they want to mine, tell them to form cooperative groups and come properly under the law. Get a license. Get regulated. Show them how to mine responsibly. It's easy that way. Ghana government will get some tax. The land, those who want to farm, will get land to farm. The rivers and water bodies will be safe. And you will get your gold. Everybody is happy. And then, are there alternative ways of dealing with the problem? Yes. And that's what I've stated. Let's enforce the law. We are the reasons why the laws were made. Everything has a way. The framers of the laws know that toxins come from mining, whether controlled or uncontrolled. And that is why they have stated explicitly clear that this is how you have to mine it. When you come under the law, the Minerals Commission will be able to monitor you. The EPA will be able to monitor you. The Water Resources Commission will be able to look at your land and see that you are not going outside of it. And you can mine responsibly. So let us not go that way and say because of poverty, let's give room for people to do the wrong thing. I don't think they are poor. If you can buy an excavator worth thousands of dollars, you are not poor. So let's leave those who want to farm to farm. If you want to mine for gold, there are channels and the laws are there. Let's follow them and do the right thing. I think I've dealt with all of them.
I believe so.
Yeah.
We'll take the next set of questions, but before we do, I'd like to acknowledge these people in our midst. We have Professor Audrey Gajipo. She is the CDD board chair. She's here. Could you please wave for us to see her? Also, we have in our midst Honorable John Intim Fojo, MP, Asin South constituency. Good to see you. And of course, Oliver Bakavomawo, he is with Democracy Hub. So we'll take the next set of questions. This gentleman with that African print has been over there for some time. Let's take his. And then we'll take the two ladies at the back, also the Australian High Commissioner. And there are two ladies here who also want to ask questions. Let's take more ladies this time around. Yes.
Thank you very much. My name is Jacob Teta Ahuno, and I work with CDD. Erastus, thank you for the presentation, the good work. My question will come from basically your last statements. You talked about the Mineral Commission, the water resources. If companies were formally registered and mining, they would be monitored. But I noticed that about two of your high-profile cases, the one related to Akwanta mining and the other one you mentioned that you were first sent to. These are companies that somehow had been registered with the Mineral Commission. They had licenses to prospect, but they were going beyond that. I was going to ask the role of Mineral Commission in all this, especially in these profile cases, because community members cannot decipher the difference between prospecting, land, mining lease, or recognizance license. How does the Mineral Commission play its role to at least educate the community members to identify that this person coming and telling me I have a license is actually the right one and being allowed to mine? So because if they have such a document, they can penetrate and deceive the community members to be able to do what they want to do. Thank you.
Let's keep our questions very brief so we can have brief responses to them. Please come here. There are some ladies here. Let's take them, and then the Australian High Commissioner as well.
Hello, and thank you, Mr. Asare Donkor and Professor Frimpong, for, especially Mr. Asare Donkor, for the lecture. My name is Kat Veluzo, and I'm doing a research on Galamsey's effect on women and children in terms of their health and their very livelihood. So, with all the questions and the suggestions, I was wondering if we could, or there could be some sort of community education programs, because if you're enforcing the laws and waiting for people to commit the crimes and keep enforcing the laws, I believe, or I think that education or educating the community right from the start, like some countries have done in terms of recycling, environmental protection. I believe we could institute something like that to help and to help the local communities' mindset. Because if we do not change the thinking of the people, we're just going to go around in circles. So I just would like to hear your opinion on that. Thank you.
Right, thank you.
Thank you.
There are two ladies at the back. Yes, let's take, and then we'll take that gentleman, and then we'll come back.
Thank you, Prof.
Let's keep it brief, please.
Okay. It is assumed, I am Hilary, the University of Ghana SRC General Secretary. And my question is actually very simple. It is assumed that limited access to technology hinders effective monitoring and evaluation. However, even in this century, we realize that the Ministry of Lands and Resources and also the Forestry Commission, they do not have, let me say, specified systems in terms of technology to monitor and also evaluate these, let me say, doings of illegal miners. What is your take on it, and how can we improve in that sector? Thank you.
Right, let's take the Australian High Commissioner.
Thank you, Erastus, for your insights today and also for your hard-hitting reporting over the years. My question relates to the methods of financing. So someone is financing the heavy equipment and the excavators. So are they local kingpins, businessmen, or are they foreign operators, or both? And also, are illicit gold flows sustaining the problem as well? So have you, in your investigative work, followed the money trail? Thank you.
Okay, my name is Sandra Abinabansa from University of Ghana and also a volunteer at Radio Universe. So my question is, we have Gold Board set aside as the regulatory body to oversee the issuing of licenses to off-takers or aggregators who want to trade in gold. But here lies the case. If someone wants to get a license from Gold Board, they need to go through a lot of processes, even when they have the money ready. You know, we are in Ghana. They'll tell you, oh, go and come today. Or when you come, they tell you, go and come the next day. Don't we think that with these strict rules set aside by Gold Board, it's also a way of deterring people from acquiring the licenses and also makes them go to illegal mining as a way of acquiring quick money? Because you know, this country, a lot of people want quick money. They know that illegal mining, you don't have to pay any license. That is a very quick way of getting money. So they involve in illegal mining. Please, what is your take on that?
Right, we'll take the last one, the gentleman over there, and then we'll come back.
Good evening. My name is Ya Sapama Tete. I'm a pensioner and a concerned grandmother. I want to say thank you, to Prof. and Erastus, and especially Erastus for his diligence, perseverance, and his moral courage. Two questions. First one, Erastus, what keeps you going on in the midst of danger to your well-being? That's the first question. Second question, do you think it is time for the president to declare a state of emergency now? Thank you.
So we'll take the last one for this batch. We'll come again for the last set of questions.
Thank you for the opportunity. I'm Michael, a student from University of Ghana and an aspiring economist. So mine is more of a contribution. So I think maybe the government is not looking at it in the right way, or it's looking at it in the wrong manner. Let's look at this way. You see, most of the people engaging in the illegal mining, it can be that they don't find a rightful means of living. So the very quick way of they earning a living, or like finding a rightful means of living life very well, is through this illegal mining. So I suggest that the government can make work more accessible to people in where they find themselves. You see, with that, it projects it to their long-term goal. When they get meaningful works to do, they will stop these kind of mining activities that destroy the environment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Erastus.
Prof, if you want to take a bite before I...
Well, I think this Galamsey thing is very complex. Too complex. You're talking about citizens' complicity. It's not easy. You know, when it started, the chiefs were saying that we've gathered these forests for hundreds of years. And then somebody will come with a paper from Accra that had a permission to mine in your area, and the chief cannot do anything about it. So they go on and mine. And so with time, they also say, well, we also have to get something from it. And that is why they also join and try to get something from their communities. That is complicity. Not that they want it, but they have no choice but to join to get something. And then let's also not forget that Galamsey is the safest thing for people who want to get money quick. Some were engaging in drugs, armed robbery, and to some, Galamsey is safe. And to some people in the, not the soldiers, in some of the law enforcement things, Galamsey is safer than going on peacekeeping. Now, look at the officers, let's say police officers who have asked for transfers after the change in government, asked for transfers, look at the transfers into some of the Galamsey areas. Who have requested to be transferred to Galamsey areas. It will tell you a story. It is very complex. Also, governments don't learn from the previous ones. Before the NPP came to power, the military could sign MOUs with mining companies to provide security. That is why the C&J Alaska was able to engage people, including Captain later Major Mahama in DSO. That was something between the army and the mining companies. That thing was stopped by the NPP administration, which was good. But then there was no proper follow-up. And also, for example, my team, we bought a lot of equipment, boats that were able to carry the chamfans and things on the water bodies. We will not burn them. We will carry the thing away. And we had two deposits, one in Kumasi and one in Takoradi. The idea was, at the same time, we were building a foundry and machine tool center at the atomic energy. And we see no country develops without the capacity to make machines or to build equipment. So we're going to gather all these metals to the foundry site, melt them, and create things. Let's say drain covers or something. And when we were stopped, all of them went back. All the things that we've confiscated were taken back from the depot in Kumasi and also in Takoradi. And then the machine 2 project 2 has stalled. It's not working. Because if we don't have create work, jobs for people, technology, this is what we do. So it is a very complex issue, and it's CDD, the government, we have to sit down, and really go into the details of some of these things. Otherwise, it is almost impossible to stop it, because if we cannot stop these things, it means that very powerful people in the state are involved. That is what I know. It's not the ordinary, you said, people, a form of living, they want a livelihood. No. Some of them are rich, people, greedy people who want plenty of money, not livelihood. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. With the Minerals Commission, the question was role of Minerals Commission in dealing with companies who have licenses but were doing the wrong things. Let me tell you about what we found. In fact, Prof was the one who sent us on that mission. We found that the company was doing prospecting. In fact, they could not even show us the prospecting license itself. They said they had a prospecting license, but when we demanded it, they could not even show it at the time. But here they were. Prospecting is done in a way that those of us who know about how it's done, you're supposed to use simple tools to drill and then get the data, go and do your research, present that to the Minerals Commission for processing of your license. So you are not supposed to, by law, use heavy equipment. But when we went to the forest that day, they had about 35 excavators in the forest. And they had already mowed it down, and they were washing plants and other things within the forest, indicating that they were not doing prospecting, they were mining. It's a crime. But the Minerals Commission at the time did nothing. I don't know why. And I had a problem with the former boss of the Minerals Commission because most of the times he tells you that these are illegal miners, so we do not recognize them. We don't see them at all. So until they are licensed, that is where you start seeing them and you regulate them. And so at the local level, Minerals Commission doesn't bother itself at all with illegal miners. But who regulates mining in this country? And that is why we have to demand answers from them as well. The EPA, for example, when we say environmental protection, what are they protecting? Because you go to the beaches and you look at how plastic waste is engulfing the beaches. That's environment, right? So where is the EPA? Across the country, all our water bodies are Milo and milk. But we have an environmental protection agency. So what is its role? I keep asking. And we have a Water Resources Commission that only gives us data. And that is it. So if it is teeth to bite, I think now they are an authority. So they can, I don't know what that means by law. Maybe Vomawo can help us, he's a lawyer, to see if they are an authority now, can they bite? If they need extra powers, why then don't they advocate for it? But behind the scenes, as a journalist who gets information from the ground, I know that it all comes down to political interference. The CEO of EPA is appointed by the politician, same as the Minerals Commission. Behind the scenes, they also have their pressure. So when they are squeezed small, they turn a blind eye to something that they should be doing. And that is what is killing us in this country. But doing the right thing is easy. You have made laws. Then we should just say that we don't need the laws. So now it's free for all. After all, the resources belong to me and you. So if you can afford, go somewhere and start digging. But what will happen? Chaos. So why are we bypassing our laws to do the wrong thing? Why has doing the wrong thing now become so popular? Foreigners are not allowed. And I think that goes into my second answer. Foreigners are not allowed by law to go into small-scale mining. But here we are. The Chinese are almost everywhere. And it's no more a crime. We arrest them, they go back. I have seen one Chinese woman, she's grown very old while staying in Ghana. She's in every Galamsey site. You find her today, they arrest her. The next day you come, she's there. So it's like we are deceiving ourselves to think that we are fighting Galamsey, but then behind the scenes, we go around in circles and in circles. If we allow the law to work, it will help all of us. Are there community education programs to educate the local communities? Well, we started one. Our documentaries, we've translated some of them into the Twi language. And when we had some fans from the Voice of America, we went round and we showed it to the communities and we engaged them. It worked very well. Many of them did not know that even the degradation that was going on had a health effect on them. And that is why I keep talking about the NCC. Where is the NCC? Where they can run education programs on TV, national television, because that's their role. And this is the time that we need them so much to be organizing that for us. But I'll also throw it for the Academy of Arts. If you want to go on an outreach program, I think our diplomatic friends will help us. Australia, EU. When you go to them, then we can go with a van to the communities and start some outreach programs and educate them. My works are there. We can do more translations that will help to educate the public. But I think the NCCE has a major role in doing that. Limited access to technology. It looks like the Minerals Commission doesn't have the tech to monitor. I disagree. These days, you can use your phone, Google Earth, and be able to tell where mining is very active right now. If you go on Google Earth, you can use your phone to determine which areas are very active with mining right now. So you don't need rocket science to determine where it is. They know. Some of us, we send daily reports to certain quarters. And I tell you, it takes forever. Nobody really wants to do something about it. Sometimes they act, sometimes it lies there forever. Who are the financiers? I wish I knew. But I have an idea. In the Galamsey field, we have what we call sponsors. They are in grades. So the sponsors could be ordinary Ghanaians with money, businessmen with money. Some of them are also politicians who pump money indirectly into the Galamsey activities. When I went to Abesia, Abumpe, and other towns within the Achimampunua district, the champagne machines that sit on the riverbeds belong to certain key people within the community who had money. They bought the machines for the boys, and they make daily sales. When I went there, it was 1,000 cedis a day. So the operator sits somewhere. He doesn't come to the field. He's not part of the operation, but he owns the equipment. And so they make daily sales to him. In some instances, those who dig, which involves excavators, they rent the excavators. And so the sponsors are the ones who rent the excavators for the boys to work with. And he supervises it. And they are forced to sell the gold to him when they get the gold. So he's the sponsor. And that sponsor could be anybody. Sometimes it's the Chinese. Sometimes it's a faceless somebody sitting in Accra who has never been to the bush but is sponsoring with his money. Occasionally they bring the gold to him to buy. And then we have the other ones. The Chinese have real money to spend. I'm telling you, they come with investment. They come with equipment. Most of the time, they sponsor. They let the Ghanaians register under their names in the small-scale sector, but they are the real owners. These days, they are bold enough to drive the excavators themselves, and I have filmed them so many times. So that's how it operates. There are sponsors, and there are people, intermediaries, those who operate. So sometimes they push the money, and then the boys work, they get peanuts. But the real owners of the excavators are somewhere. And so it costs like 6,000 cedis a day when you rent an excavator. You will also have to pay the operator to man the machine for you. Some of them are rented. Some are bought by bigger people who own bigger concessions. And then the other one was gold board. You said applications to get licensed with a gold board is complex. Well, I don't know whether gold board itself issues licenses for mining. No. But licenses to sell the gold to them, I doubt. Unless you have a personal experience to share. And personally, I don't have a very big problem with setting up gold board. And this is why. Because the gold that were being mined, whether illegally or legally, one, the country is not benefiting from the gold that is being mined. So it's being stolen. They are leaving the pits for the taxpayer to reclaim. And then the Indians and the Chinese smuggle the gold out. And so we are also denied of foreign exchange. Double slaps like that, it was bad. So to set up the gold board to now purchase the gold, to me is a good thing. But I have always told the CEO that don't be complacent buying illegal gold. But you should be moving towards traceability, encouraging sustainable mining. And so if it's a process, let's quicken that process so that we will not be buying illegal gold. And that is why we are not able to sell on the European market and make good money. We are selling in the United Arab Emirates and other areas where the value we are getting is smaller. But if we are able to go with traceability and we are able to buy gold and be able to show where the gold is coming from, the value will go higher, we'll get more foreign exchange.
I'll take two more questions. But before I do, there's one question here. It says, Ghana's laws already regulate the sale and use of hazardous chemicals like cyanide and mercury. Yet these substances are still easily purchased and widely used in illegal mining. How do we explain this gap between regulation and practice? And what concrete steps should the state be taking to control the supply chain of these chemicals if we are serious about tackling Galamsey? And this is from Dr. Edem Salome. So I'll take two more questions because our time is fast spent. From the gentleman in the white and then the man waving his hand at the back. Then we'll take the man in the brown and then
Thank you very much. My name is Joseph Kobla Wemako. I wear so many hats, but tonight I identify myself as a concerned citizen as far as this whole fight is concerned. And I would like to find out, it looks like fighting Galamsey has become a daunting task. Nothing at all seems to be working. Now, I'd like to find out, Erastus, you have enlightened us so much this evening, and I would like to find out from you the role of CSOs. I was at an event at Somanya speaking to farmers recently, that was last month, and a question was thrown to me as a special guest of honor. They are like, what is the role of CSO? Have we seen the CSO doing enough? And I was trying to speak for the CSOs, but it looks like all the things I'm saying, they feel like we are in bed with the government. So I would like to put that question to you. Do you see the CSOs doing enough, CDD Ghana and others who are involved in this fight? Do you see them doing enough? Secondly, people are calling for state of emergency. Do you support state of emergency? And I also like to find out from you, if you will the ultimate power to stop this nonsense, suggest 3 things you can do to end it today for us. Finally,
we can't take any more questions, please. I beg your pardon. Let others also have the opportunity. And please, let's be decorous in our output. Very briefly, please.
All right. Thank you very much. I'm Elam Ayale from West Africa Civil Society Institute. So I have 3 questions. Mr.
No,
Erastus.
you can't ask 3 questions. Just one.
All right.
Just one.
So based on your work, research, and engagement you had with the various communities around this Galamsey issue, what will be your top 3 root causes for this illegal mining? Because I believe that if you are trying to provide solution, we need to understand the root causes. So what are your 3 root causes you identified during your work?
Thank you very much. Let's move to the next person very quickly. Yes, the gentleman at the back. Okay, Reverend, very quickly, please.
All right. Congratulations, Erastus, on the very insightful presentation. Of course, your boldness and consistency over a decade in the front lines, the fight against Galamsey. I'm John Intimfojo. I'm conducting a research on the socio-political dimensions of Galamsey. You've been on the field. From your presentation, you have successfully portrayed how Galamsey has become so sophisticated to the point where politicians are afraid to touch it, security agencies are run away from it, enforcement agencies are busy turning their back on it. What complexity is within the formation of the perpetrators in illegal mining for which this canker has become as bad as it is today, transcending security threats, environmental threats, and biological threats? Thank you.
Thank you, too. Let's take the gentleman in the black here. Yes. Very, very briefly, and then we can...
Okay, thank you very much. I'm Akoto Ampa, representing the Ghana Medical Association. So everybody talks about state of emergency. The previous government resisted it. This government is resisting it. What at all would happen when the president declares a state of emergency? It is in the Constitution. But what will happen? Nobody is talking about it. Everybody is asking about it. So if anybody here can tell us that if the president declares a state of emergency with Galamsey, this and that would happen. And I think that we all can understand. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So that will be it for the questions. And Erastus, I believe our mother asked what keeps you going, and also the other question about the state of emergency. Yes.
Let me start from there. Sorry, I missed it. What keeps me going? I have children. I have 4 children. My dream is to have a small cottage by a beautiful river, grow my potatoes and vegetables, retire quietly, and watch my grandsons grow. But I don't see that idea materializing even in my hometown, Jakobu, where the river Oda is so polluted. And this is what we are leaving for generations unborn, whether you like it or yes. We are leaving them with poison. So it's like you, as a father, you have children, and what you are leaving them is an environment that cannot sustain them. And I have a chance to do something about it. That's why I'm doing it. We face all manner of threats. I wanted to talk about it. It escaped me. Let me share it briefly. About close to 2 months ago, somebody who follows me on Facebook, we bear the same name, surname, Donkor. I don't know whether the people who are monitoring me thought he was my brother or a relative. They sent him a message on his phone that we may not get Erastus himself, but we will send him your decapitated body to serve as a warning. I asked him to report to the police. He did in Accra. I also reported to certain quarters. Then, about 2 weeks later, he was stabbed. Yes, below the ribs, by 2 men on a motorbike. I reported it again. He has also filed another complaint. It's been about a month now, nothing. I get similar threats. I report to the police. I get no response. But I don't think I should be running and covering my face just for fighting for the environment. And I think that is why many journalists are also shying away from reporting on the environment. And so the security agencies should help us when we report such cases. Add some seriousness to it. Let's get to the bottom of it so we can also feel safe to continue what we do. So the question was, cyanide and mercury are banned. Why are we still getting them? I understand the cyanide is coming more from Burkina Faso. And many of the Burkinabés know how to do the leaching. They are experts. And that is why in all the areas I've gone, you see that the leaching is done by Burkinabés and Ghanaians. We have signed the Minamata Convention. But I don't know why we are still selling mercury on the open market. It's something that I think civil society organizations and CDD and others should be asking those questions to government to find a solution. The role of CSOs, are they doing enough? Well, they are doing something. They are doing something. As to whether it is enough, I don't know. But they are doing something. CDD has just organized this lecture. It was widely publicized. It is further strengthening dialogue on it. We thank the Diplomatic Corps for sponsoring it. We need more of such. And I think Media Coalition Against Galamsey is also doing a lot. Arocha Ghana is doing a lot. In fact, they have been sponsoring many of the trips we do into the forest reserves. Daro Bosu and the others, Kenneth Ashigbe and all that, they are helping. Yes, we want to see more. But the question is, what are ordinary citizens like you also doing? Do we fold our arms and say the fight belongs to somebody? In Ghana, we all want to watch. No. We all have to get involved. So you don't leave it to Oliver Vomao and his people to be